Welcome to the SVG-TV News, Friday, June 25th edition. I am Khalil Cato with the details. Government Senator and Deputy Speaker of the House of Assembly, Ashel Morgan, Assistant Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, Karim Nelson, and Cornelius John all appeared at the Serious Offences Court today to answer to charges against their names, as was ordered by the Director of Public Prosecutions, Sickle in relation to a shooting incident in Diamond on April 13th. The lawyer representing the shooting victim, Cornelius John, said she is disgusted with the DPP's decision in the matter, as it goes against the rules and principles of justice. Larissa Pugsley-Kidd tells us more in this report.
Senator and Deputy Speaker of the House, Ashel Morgan, pleaded not guilty to the charge of assault with intent to commit wounding in respect of a complainant by Cornelius John on the 13th of April. Morgan, who was the first to be called up to the stand by Magistrate Rashawn Brown at the Serious Offences Court this morning, was placed on $2,000 bail with one surety, which was not objected to by Director of Public Prosecutions Sickle. Morgan is barred from making contact with a virtual complainant. Karim Nelson, Assistant Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions, is charged for unlawful and maliciously wounding Cornelius John of Diamond on the 13th of April, and for unlawfully discharging a firearm at John on the same date and place. Nelson pleaded not guilty to the two charges and was granted composite bail of $10,000 with one surety, and was asked to lodge his passport and stop notices be placed at ports of entry and exit. He was also asked not to make contact with the virtual complainant. Morgan and Nelson were both represented by Ronald Marks, and their next court hearing is on the 5th of July at the Calico Magistrate Court. The shooting victim, Cornelius John, who is represented by K. Bacchus Batiste, arrived an hour late in court as Bacchus Batiste informed the magistrate that her client had a doctor's appointment. John was slapped with 3 charges for threats and was placed on $2,500 bail. Speaking to the media following the hearing, Bacchus Batiste said to her surprise an additional charge was brought against her client, 2 from his wife and 1 from Ashel Morgan.
They say threatening words, 2 against his wife, which should really be a family court matter, and the other one reportedly against Ashel. He has totally denied issuing any threats, and I think that these charges are just thrown in to give some sort of semblance of some explanation.
Cornelius John has also been ordered to appear at the Calico Magistrate Court on the 5th of July. Bacchus Batiste opined that the threat charges against her client by his wife should have been heard in the family court. The lawyer is also displeased with the charges against the senator and the Deputy Director of Public Prosecution.
A summary trial? In all my years of practice, these sort of charges should be more serious charges, should be indictable before judge and jury. It is totally against all principles and rules of justice, and I cannot see how the application of the prosecutorial code could justify those minor charges and his charge to be almost in the same category.
The third person, who was allegedly present when the shooting incident took place on April 13th in Diamond, remains unknown, as no mention was made of him or her today in court. Bacchus Batiste said that it is a serious indictment on the administration of justice and will fight to have the person's name revealed.
In any event, asks for that to be revealed. There's case law to back it up, and if I have to take this matter all the way to the High Court, Court of Appeal, wherever, we will get the identity of that third person. Last
evening, the Director of Public Prosecution, Sickle, in a media release said, given her assessment of facts and circumstances, applying legal principles and the code for prosecutors, advised the Commissioner of Police to lay the charges. She said that as part of upholding the sanctity of the Constitution, there should be no improper pressure or influence on or interference with the exercise of powers of the DPP by any entity or individual. Bacchus Batiste said much more was expected from the DPP.
I am not convinced that she has done all that she would do if it was a different defendants involved. As I said before, this matter cries out for joint enterprise charge. Can you imagine Karim being convicted and she is acquitted because they can't prove that she assaulted him, and she walks, and Karim, who went there at her behest, Karim, who went there with her, because there's no charge against my client for doing anything to Karim. None. They tried very much to bring a charge for some cutlass, and they interviewed the witnesses over and over. And when I say witnesses, it includes the police who came there. and they just could not bring a charge for any cutlass. There was no cutlass there.
Outside the serious offences court today, there was a small group of protesters who were in support of the shooting victim, Cornelius John. Reporting for SVG-TV News, Larissa Pogsley-Kidd.
Meanwhile, a prominent lawyer told SVG-TV News that criminal offences can disqualify an individual from being called to the bar, and that it could also result in the disbarment of a practicing attorney. Speaking anonymously, the legal mind said that whilst being charged for an offence does not qualify for any action against an attorney by the bar, a guilty plea or conviction is a different matter. The attorney said based on the type of offence, where there has been a guilty verdict or a plea entered, the attorney can be reprimanded by the bar. However, if the offence is sufficiently serious, that individual could be stripped of his or her ability to practice law. The OECS Bar Association, of which St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a member, lists within its code of ethics the conduct expected of attorneys at law within the jurisdiction. It says that an attorney at law should bear in mind that he or she can only maintain the high traditions of the profession by being a person of high integrity and dignity. Police are investigating the circumstances surrounding the death of Travis Vasquez Fernandez, a 23-year-old bus conductor of Park Hill. The Police Public Relations Department said that at about 6:52 this morning, the police were alerted to a lifeless body lying on the ground in the vicinity of the playing field in South Rivers, and upon visiting the scene, discovered the deceased with what appeared to be a wound to the side of his neck. The deceased was later identified as Fernandez. A post-mortem examination is expected to be conducted on the body to ascertain the exact cause of death. Police are also investigating circumstances surrounding the attempted murder of a 52-year-old tailor of Old Montrose that occurred on Sunday. Police say the preliminary investigations revealed that an 18-year-old student of the same address allegedly inflicted wounds to the virtual complainant's throat, left hand, and index finger with a cutlass at Old Montrose. Persons with information pertaining to these investigations are asked to contact the Assistant Commissioner in charge of crimes at 456-1339, or the officer in charge of the CID, MCU, or CRO at 456-1810, or any police station or officer you're comfortable with. All information, the police say, will be treated confidentially. Investigations into both incidents are ongoing. The UWI seismic team has commenced the reinstallation of monitoring devices at the summit of the La Soufrière volcano, and the lead monitoring scientist, Lloyd Lynch, said the team was expected to finish the installation of the devices, including a camera, today. Some of the monitoring devices were destroyed during the explosive eruption of the volcano on Friday, April 9th. On NBC Radio this morning, Lynch said that the summit station was installed exactly where it was prior to the erupting phase of the volcano.
More like debris that has fallen back into the vent. It has a bulge, of course, and some fractures, both radial and concentric. The only way we are going to find out if it's growing is if we continue to look at it, to have constant surveillance. However, the texture is nowhere like what we saw when it was in the effusive stage of eruption. At that time, the erupted material was very dark and blocky. What we see inside now is not as blocky, and it's not as dark either. So it's probably some of the fractured material that was blown out that has fallen back inside.
From a helicopter view after the installations of the monitoring devices yesterday, the scientist described what was seen in the volcano crater. He said that there is a large vent with region with a mass. He, however, noted that it doesn't look like a new dome growth.
Somewhere between 2 to 3 feet to get down back to the soil, the original surface.
I guess that 2 or 3 feet was ash built up. I guess that 2 or 3 feet was ash built up.
Well, not ash, debris. So you have ash and blocks and other fractured material.
Okay.
Good. So it's fairly unconsolidated. That is very loose, because we're seeing a lot of water veins being cut into the system. We don't know how long it will remain. So everything that we put down, we have to pile down 3 feet into the ground. And you have to do that because it's very, very windy up there.
Meanwhile, Lynch said an uptick of the seismic activity, which was reported in the last update due to heavy rainfall, continues to reduce.
Seismicity or earthquakes recorded within the range of 25, 24, 22 per day. We have dropped down to 14 events.
Okay.
And this is, trending towards what we were seeing back in the early parts of June, when we were seeing sometimes less than 10 events per day. So the system, after a short uptick that coincided with the increase in rainfall activity, is moving back down towards what we saw in the earlier parts of the month. It continues to steam from 3 vent regions.
A gas measurement done yesterday showed that there are 683 tons of gases being released per day. The volcano alert remains at orange. A temporary education facility is being constructed at the decommissioned E.T. Joshua Airport tarmac, which will house 500 students from the Thomas Saunders Secondary School. Minister of Finance Camilo Gonzalez, who toured the facility recently along with the Minister of Education, said that the temporary facility is the biggest that the government has ever constructed.
So we have this facility as a temporary facility is easily the biggest one we've built so far. The one that was built at Calico will house between 200 and 250 students. This one is housing 550 students in the instance of Thomas Saunders. There's a big expansive building, but when built also we took into consideration the fact that students are sitting a little bit further apart now because of COVID. So the thing is spaced out. This massive area in the middle and to the back, they're going to have areas of seating so that the children can get a few benches and sit around and have something to snack on and relax a little bit. In this courtyard in the front, and there's a little space in the back as well. We're trying to make it as comfortable as possible. It's a great facility temporarily, but nothing beats your own school. So we're trying to make it as comfortable as possible while the students are here.
Part of the construction phase of the temporary school facility started last week Wednesday and is expected to be completed before the start of the new school year. Minister Gonzalez said that there are 7 different contractors working on individual sets of buildings which were designed by Bragza. Though the temporary facility was built to house the students of Thomas Saunders, Minister Gonzalez said other schools that are being repaired will be relocated to the temporary facility once the students and teachers of Thomas Saunders return to their school.
You notice, guys, down here, these concrete blocks are different from what was done at the temporary schools, for example, in Calico. The Calico school is in a sheltered area, so you don't have a lot of breeze coming in. But because this area is so wide open, even though it's a temporary school, hurricane season is coming. So we decided to put the facility on some stronger concrete footing, so that in the event of bad weather, the building ain't going to lift up and blow away. So this one is built with a little bit more, even though it's still temporary, a little more firmness in the structure. And I want to thank the engineers and the architects for considering those items when they were building.
Minister of Education Curtis King said that with the temporary facility, the Thomas Saunders Secondary will get the opportunity to be repaired to give students and teachers a more comfortable learning environment.
And obviously, while they're here, the work would be done on Thomas Saunders Secondary, because the work there will involve a great deal of effort. There's a substantial piece of work has to be done at Thomas Saunders to bring it back up to the level where students could be in some level of comfort while pursuing their education. And that is why I keep indicating that it is important that we get these facilities up and running. And I'm very impressed with Baxter. Baxter is the one who was charged with the responsibility. Of course, we have subcontract with it. And the work is progressing very rapidly, as you can see. I'm very impressed because the entire project would have started roughly about a month ago. And I guess this part where they're actually doing the construction of the boat and so on, of the classroom and so on. This part might have been, as the brother was saying down there, that building was started 8-9 days ago. So you're talking roughly about 2 weeks of construction. And this is what you're seeing so far.
The construction of the temporary facility, which is at a cost of $1.6 million, is part of a massive school construction program that the government is embarking on to replace schools damaged by the volcanic eruption and to repair a number of other school buildings. European evaluators Celeron on Tuesday narrowed down the bidders to construct the cargo port in capital Kingstown to 2 companies. Chairperson of the Port Modernization Project, Laura Brown, told SVG-TV News that it is either a company from Canada or Italy which will be selected to carry out the work, with the final determination to be made in about 6 weeks' time, noting that the project is at a critical stage of implementation.
There's one company out of Canada called Acon, and the second company from Italy, Trevi, evaluation. That evaluation has been completed, and having done the technical evaluation, then we were invited to open the financial envelopes. Interestingly, the financial envelopes were open, so we are now evaluating the financial envelopes. When that evaluation is complete and we have no objection from the Caribbean Development Bank and everything goes according to the plans, then we will invite the successful bidder to negotiate the contract. We expect to have the results of the evaluation in 3 weeks' time. Following that, when those results come in, we will then negotiate with the successful bidder.
Brown explained the process of what takes place in the evaluation of financial envelopes, which had to be done virtually.
It was a public opening, so both companies were present virtually, of course, and so we read out the prices. So they would say, each company said it will do this job for X dollars. So they gave their price, each of them, and so that's all the information that we took at that time, how much each company would complete this job for. That's their projected cost. Our consultants, the Zellhorn, they have not been able to travel to come to St. Vincent, so everything has been taking place virtually. And when the companies, the bidders, were preparing their bids, ideally they would come to the site and make an assessment. So it would take much longer because they weren't able to travel as freely for them to make the assessments, and considerably we were slowed down by COVID-19.
According to the chairperson of the port project, no local bidders could have qualified due to the magnitude of the project, but noted that they could have partnered with international companies.
Certain basic, requirements that you must meet. Now you can collaborate with an international company, and so there were several local companies which were collaborating with international companies, but on their own they would not have met the qualification criteria to submit a proposal for the construction. This is a huge project.
Brown said they have fallen behind by several months for the scheduled construction phase of the new cargo port due to the COVID-19 pandemic. She said the projected new date for the commencement is the first quarter of 2022.
The designs are 30% completed. So the successful contractor will then be able to complete the designs, and once these are fully approved by the government and the funding agency, then the contractor will commence construction. We anticipate that construction will start somewhere in the third quarter of 2022. That's next year. All of the processes, meaning the finalization of the designs and the, mobilization of the whatever needs to be done.
Manager of Engineering at the St. Vincent Electricity Services Limited, VINLEC, Dr. Vaughan Lewis, has outlined plans by the company to increase its electricity generation capacity with the introduction of a solar energy project in close proximity to the Argyle International Airport over the next 2 years, as they anticipate a growth in the demand for electricity.
Short-term, medium-term, long-term generation expansion plans, and we review on an annual basis our need for capacity. What we do in the future will depend on how the demand on mainland St. Vincent and on the separate Grenadine Islands grow. So with the expectations that there would be new hotels on the horizon and so on, the expectations that we will grow our generation capacity. It could be more diesel if necessary, but we also have another project online where we would be installing more solar capacity and battery storage within the next 2 years. So that project is actually the largest capital project we have on the book, and it would involve installing at least 1 megawatt of solar PV at a location at Argyle, quite close to the airport, and we have already secured lands for that.
Lewis said the project will see the installation of utility-sized battery storage at the Cane Hall power plant, which, among other things, will be used to maintain and manage the smooth operation of the renewable energy generated by the solar project.
What would be new is that we would be installing utility-sized battery storage at the same power station at Cane Hall. And what the battery storage would allow us to do is to optimize the way we run our generators, save us money, allow us to run them more efficiently, and more importantly, it would set the platform for us to have a greater penetration of renewable energy on our system. Because the issue with renewable energies is that the output of renewable energy is dependent on nature. In the case of solar PV, it depends on sunlight, and you could have very quick changes in the output from a solar PV farm, for example. And you need something in between to smooth that out and provide enough capacity so that when customers demand the power, they get it.
Lewis said the battery storage project will be the second of its kind in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, with the first on Union Island in the southern Grenadines. He, however, noted that the undertaking on the mainland will be significantly larger, reaping benefits that will hopefully be felt by all Vincentians. 9 new positive cases, COVID-19 cases, were reported from 202 samples processed on Wednesday, resulting in a positivity rate of 4.5%. 22 new recoveries were noted over the reporting period. 237 cases are currently active, and 12 persons with COVID-19 have died. 2,216 cases of COVID-19, along with 1,967 recoveries, have been recorded in St. Vincent and the Grenadines since March 2020. The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, said that persons who persist in incorrect or no mask use, remain unvaccinated, and participate in mass gatherings will continue to be at risk for infecting and spreading COVID-19, as is happening now. The public is therefore urged to continue to use masks, sanitize, physically distance, and get vaccinated to reduce the spread of COVID-19 in the country. The St. Matthias Charities Incorporated has again demonstrated its commitment to the development of the local health sector with another substantial donation of medical supplies and volcanic relief items to the Stubbs Polyclinic through the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment. The handing over ceremony took place yesterday at the Stubbs Polyclinic. In his address at the ceremony, President of the St. Matthias Charities Inc., Pastor Robert McBarnett, said they have also donated supplies to residents of Dixon Village and other communities affected by the volcanic eruption.
We also really want to go into the red zone so we can do a more
better assessment to assess, because we know after a lot of the folks move back to their community, we know that the need will be great. So as an organization, we continue to work in St. Vincent and the Grenadines with the people and for the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We also work elsewhere, but we are looking forward and we are hoping to be back on the ground before the end of this year. So we want to do an assessment to see the needs in some of these communities so we can continue to supply the needs of these communities.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Cuthbert Knights, thanked the organization for its continued support to the country's healthcare system. He said that they are exceptionally grateful for the latest donation, especially in this time of crisis.
First and foremost, we are experiencing a pandemic which have really shook up the world and which has devastating impacts economically, socially, also public health implications as well. Now, it is within that context that we are especially grateful. We have been grateful over the years, but we are exceptionally grateful for what we have received here, because some of these items are going to become very handy, very helpful, very instrumental in helping us to protect ourselves, as you would see. And we have the hand sanitizers, we have masks, we have gloves, and there are many other things here.
Knight said that it is also commendable that the head of the Charitable organization, which is now in its 10th year of existence, will be venturing out to the red and orange zones to see what the situation is like so that he will be better informed of the needs of the people.
Their focus is not just on this donation here, which is done every year, but as Pastor would have said, it's a focus now on trying to expand and to contribute. I also want to let you know that there is also focus on responding on the part of St. Matthias Charity to the explosive eruption of the volcano here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So the contributions are not just geared towards our assisting our fight where COVID is concerned, but their contribution also has taken into consideration the impact which the eruption of the Las Sofia volcano has had on our lives and livelihood. And that is the extent to which I did mention that they are seeking to venture off into the red zone and into the distant North Leeward to see what the situation there is and to see how best.
The members of staff of the Stubbs Polyclinic also thanked the St. Matthias Charities Incorporated for their continued support. Full-blown sickle cell disease warrior Teresa Jack, who was diagnosed as a child, said it has not been an easy journey living with the debilitating disease and is thanking God for his mercies. Jack shared with our news team her challenges living with sickle cell in commemoration of World Sickle Cell Awareness Day, observed annually on June 9th. That should be June 19th. The Ashburton villager said that she encountered several near-death situations. Even nurses and doctors had given up on her. Jack pointed out that one of her major problems living with sickle cell is the endless pains.
The challenges I face is like the pains, like when the weather on, they will say keep hydrating, drink lots of water. Yes, you would do that, but when it's too hot, even if you keep drinking, you would get pain. There are times when the place is too cold, you try to keep warm, you would keep hydrated, but you would still get pain. There are certain activities you can't take part in, certain places you can't go, certain things you can't do. You can't climb a mountain because the higher you go, your level, your oxygen level drop, you causes pain. And there are times I was in my house wrong there, crying, and I'm so wrong there, because you know I'm so wrong there. And nobody wouldn't look to say, what's wrong with you? That's how it is. I think because it's been so much a year sicking, like they're getting tired. That's how I look at it, like they're getting tired, they fed up at the up and down and all that. Carlos Williams, I should say thanks because Lord God, if not for him, I don't know how I would make it.
The 35-year-old woman said living with sickle cell is physically and emotionally draining and asked for better understanding and care from members of the public, including healthcare workers.
Because sometimes you go, you would meet nice nurses and you would meet nice doctors. Some just be harsh, some just be mean. All are not the same, because you won't meet everybody would be rational to you or harsh to you, and you would meet everybody being nice to you. But some of them, I just don't know what to say. I don't want to make a comment because then I have to go there and they were like, oh, you was on TV saying this and saying that about us, because that's the thing that does happen. Really, what I like to say is just for the system, like the hospital wise, to treat us better and stop judging us. Stop looking at us, because you could not look at me. I'm hurting now. You can't watch and say, but she's smelling, you can't she look shit. Don't do it, because it's not funny. You can't look at somebody and if they're hurting. I remember one time I was getting admitted and I say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much is your pain? And I tell her about that, because it was like, she's like, you're not having a 10 pain. And the doctor passed across was like, if you get 12 hour pain, you might faint. Don't do that. Get her bed and get her some medication immediately from a place. Just change towards us and stop judging us, because we don't have no hatred towards them, but when they come after to us like that, then is when we're going to build a hate towards them.
Jack said due to her financial situation, she's unable to eat healthily, follow the appropriate diet, and buy her medication.
Yes, but then with no finance, I can't do it. I eat whatever I can maintain myself with.
So tell us about the diet that a sickle is supposed to be on.
You're supposed to eat a thing which is like iron, protein, calcium, zinc, all those stuff, and high fiber, because of some of the medication we've been placed on to, sometimes you get constipated, so you need things to help you get bowel movement, because I suffer from bowel movement, have to be using fleet in my time sometimes. I would just stay off the medication, and then when I do that, I might get sick. Because if I stay off it, I will go off freely. But once I start taking it just to help with the pain, I get constipated. So, and then you have to be eating fruits and to keep up your vitamins A. You could buy all these things in tablets, but if you get it naturally, it's better.
Jack, who recently lost a friend who was also suffering from sickle cell, is encouraging other persons with the disease to stay positive and trust God.
I would tell them to stay strong, and there are times when you feel like giving up, just remember there's a God, keep pushing on. I think it have a lot to do with supportive family, because if you have supportive family, you would fight on. But sometimes you're hurt and you just feel like, you know what, there's nobody cares for me. Might as well I just give up. What am I fighting for? So just keep pushing on, and sometimes when you feel like there's no one there, always remember that there's a God, and with Him, you don't need nobody else. Once He give you a push forward, then you would make it through. So just keep fighting on, stay hydrated as possible. When it's too cold, keep warm. I used to do like a lot of that, cut out all of that, because it takes up your oxygen level and your energy. Because you're in a warm place, you come out into a cool place, you're gonna get chilled inside, bam, you're gonna. So just stay positive, trust God, and families who like just leave up your family because they've been sick and then again, please don't do it, because there comes a time that once a man, twice a child, you're gonna need somebody to be there for you as well. So just keep pushing on, warriors. Don't give up, and always remember that there's a God.
Yeah. Also,
infectious disease specialist Dr. Gerald Thompson is encouraging persons suffering with sickle cell to eat healthy and to avoid stressful situations. World Sickle Cell Day was observed on Saturday, June 19th under the theme, Let Shine the Light on Sickle Cell Disease. In a telephone interview with SVG-TV News, Dr. Thompson said sickle cell is a serious condition and that is not being given enough attention, especially here in SVG and the wider Caribbean.
Now, under certain conditions, stress, an infection, just having the flu or being in an airplane, what can happen is your blood, your red blood cells can start to clump and clot inside your blood vessels. And when it does that, it not only destroys the red blood cells and causes a severe anemia, but the blockage of the blood vessels prevents oxygen and blood from getting to vital organs of the body. And this creates excruciating pain, and we call it a sickle cell crisis. We want you to be very careful about the stressful circumstances you're under, avoid infections, and to eat healthy. There are lots of nutrients, and so you need to, especially folic acid, which is important to help build up and rebuild the red blood cells in your body.